What is up, Watch fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop, and today I am recapping some of the best and worst watches of 2019. It was a hell of a year, so this is going to be a hell of a video. Boom, Watch fam. First, a wristwatch check, and I think a nice little glass of Prosecco. So I am wearing a Cartier Tank Louis in the classic size. I only acquired this watch a month or two ago. I never realized how small this watch was until I was lucky enough to acquire the jumbo model, which is available in the Theo and Harris Watch Shop. But there are a lot of differences between these two watches. This one is, of course, manual wind, whereas the jumbo is automatic. But I think just in the overall feeling of the watches, there's just so much difference. When I wear this watch, I feel like a mid-20th century gentleman. When I wear the Cartier Tank Louis Jumbo, I feel like, just 2019, even though it is a watch from the 70s. That's probably by and large because I'm just so used to this piece, which I do love, because I know that 99% of people on the market would prefer the Jumbo just because it's so much more modern. Anyway, that's the watch on my wrist, so let's get into the first best watch. Reshep Rexhepi's Chronometre Contemporane. What is Reshep Rexhepi, you might ask? How would you begin to spell Reshep Rexhepi, you may ask? It's a brand from the founder of Akrivia, whose name is, you guessed it, Reshep Rexhepi. While picking up steam in the center of the watch universe, he's still a relative unknown, but that's going to change. We're in a renaissance of independent watchmaking. RG, MB&F, and Gronfeld have become, against all odds, major players that carry clout in this world, and that's a very good thing for Mr. Rexhepi. The man behind the watch, while one of the youngest faces in this business at 31, is a little bit of a legend. He's been trained by Patek Philippe and F.P. Journe, and his watches, which now carry his own name, are a clear product of that past. Traditional, yet inventive. His only watch piece grabbed much attention, and I think you're going to see a lot come from his name in the next 5 years. But I will say, Mr. Rexhepi, if you're watching, if you do intend on scaling, which I really hope you do, I do suggest that you sort out your branding. Akrivia is synonymous with a very different kind of watch than Reshep Rexhepi. They are both incredible brands in their own right, but they're different, so separate them. Anyway, the Chronometre Contemporane is a masterpiece. Its movement, which is architected in-house in total symmetry, is finished by hand and with great detail. Its dial is sharp and balanced and made of Grenfou enamel, and its case is fundamentally classic but subtly differentiated. It's beautiful. So great job to this young independent, but now on to something a hell of a lot worse. Girard Perregaux's Laureato Absolute Chronograph. A blacked out 44mm case, over-branded strap, and uncomplimentary dial choice. It's wrong. I think it's so wrong. For a company trying to reinvent themselves as a relevant manufacturer, it's an awfully cheap design, in my opinion. The Laureato line, the time-only, Perpetual, and the best is the skeleton, is chasing the Nautilus Royal Oak market, and in many ways doing an admirable job. But this isn't that. This is the offshore, this is the classic fusion, this is off-brand for Girard Perregaux, which is extremely damaging because they're not playing from a position of power. At this stage, in this brand-building stage, this brand reinvention stage, every release counts, and this wasn't a good one. Now, moving back into perfection, a Lange Soehne's Datograph Perpetual Tourbillon in salmon. This is wild, but let's lay some foundation. In 2016, Longa introduced their Datograph Perpetual and their Datograph Perpetual Tourbillon. The Tourbillon being, in my opinion, the real showstopper. And not just because Lange decided to hide their incredibly complicated and gravity-defying complication, but because of that dial. The color, the placement of the power reserve, everything about it. But Lange released the same watch in salmon, and it is divine. Actually, it's a dial made out of solid pink gold that mimics salmon, something that no brands do. I loathe that it's limited to 100 pieces, but I am blinded by its beauty. Speaking of blindness, months later, Ralph Lauren released this. A trio of 42mm Polo Bear watches with $2,100 price tags. Horrible. The release comes from a good place. Ralph Lauren wanted to pay homage to their mascot, and I get it. But what a poor execution. It could have been a perfect swatch competitor. A neat little Polo Bear watch to evoke the nostalgia of your childhood bed sheets. A great way to spend $250, but nope, they went the opposite way. An overpriced novelty, and I smell a big L coming. Sorry, Polo. But you know what the worst part is? That Ralph Lauren is actually a super tasteful watchmaker. I've compared them, specifically in respect to their Slim Classique, to Cartier. While the brand doesn't manufacture their own movements, they designed them beautiful and interesting homes. I really do hope to see more of that in the future. But until then, here's another thing that'll make you smile. Vacheron Constantin's overseas dual time in titanium and tantalum for Corey Richards' Mount Everest climb. The photographer and alpinist, whose work you might recognize from National Geographic, set out on an expedition to the summit this year, and on his wrist, a one-off VC made to help him on his journey, raise awareness of the beauty and preservation of our world, and ultimately raise money for the National Geographic Society upon its return to sea level. And VC went the full way on this watch. A beautifully frosted dial, a new titanium case for its lack of weight, thicker hands and markers for legibility in those crazy conditions, a custom rotor that displays the Himalayas based off of a shot by Corey Richards himself, and a badass explorer's strap. This is a great product and a perfect marketing campaign because it feigns nothing. It is unique. It is thoughtful. It is limited. It is part of something larger than itself. It's not some watch propped up by celebrity endorsement. While VC could certainly release an overseas dual time in titanium one day, although I do hear that it might be improbable because of the difficulty to manufacture the bracelet, especially at scale and within budget restraints, besides the point, it would never be this one. Never the same dial, never the same rotor, never the same strap, but more importantly, never the same significance. I am blown away by this piece. I applaud Vacheron Constantin for organizing this brilliant watch because I genuinely do feel it is not just one of the most beautiful things to happen in 2019 in the watch world, but one of the most interesting.
And now, time for an honorable mention from AP, the Royal Oak Extra Thin Jumbo 15202 BC with this gold tone salmon dial. AP released dozens of new Royal Oaks this year, all ranging from 33mm to 42, but this is 39mm, and that is the only one at 39, which represents the original Gerald Genta sizing, including 8mm in thickness, and a beautiful white gold case with this dial that is intended to match a limited edition Jubilee celebration watch that was released in 1992. It's slightly different. It's a little browner, a little golder. The watch retails for $55,000, and in 2019 there were 75 units produced. They didn't indicate if there were going to be more in 2020 in the years moving forward, but hopefully it means that there is, because they're not saying 75 forever. So that is a good sign. I think this watch is incredibly interesting and beautiful because it is the original proportions that Gerald Genta designed, and It has a very vintage dial. Everything's a little slimmer and a little thinner and more refined, and I personally really love that. But it's paired these original designs with a beautiful interpretation of a traditional dial, but the color isn't really seen anywhere else in the line, and certainly not from anything released in 2019. So I think they did a fantastic job on this. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and can't wait to see how many more they release. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up at the bottom there, right there. And if you love watches, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we have new videos. And if you're interested in a vintage watch, please check out the Theo and Harris watch shop because we list them every week, and that's down below, and I'll put it up there. Thanks for watching.
Wearing this beautiful Datejust in 14 karat gold.
18 karat? Who are you making us out to be? My mom got you that. Why? It's 18 karat gold. 14.
4 carats more, you mean?
For those of you who don't know, this was in 2 separate gifts.
Yes.
Right? So tell that story just for a second.
So I got the gift for my 50th birthday.
As a side note, he was going to say, I got head for my 50th birthday, and he stopped.
I did.
I